Yep. So, thank you all for coming to join this session. We are going to discuss the cyberwar against an aggressor and with the perspective of the war between Russia and Ukraine. And with me here today, I have Nathalie Besèr, who is the Chief of Communication at Consid. I am the CEO of Consid, and we also are very proud to have Yegor Aushev, who is the CEO of Cyber Unit and also the Head of Civilian Cyber Defense in Ukraine. Please, Yegor, could you present yourself on a little bit deeper level?
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Yeah. So I'm happy to be here. Thank you for inviting. It's my first visit to your country. So in a couple of days, I'll go back to Ukraine, and I'm so excited to share my experience from our perspective, from our view of cyber war. We want to share our thoughts that actually what happens in Ukraine right now, tomorrow might happen in your country and all Western countries, because cyberspace doesn't have any borders actually. So we should be united, we should act together. So that's why I'm here. Thank you.
And we also have Björn Fägersten, who is a security policy expert at the Swedish Institute of International Affairs, and also the founder of the boutique consultancy Politea.
Thank you.
Please, would you say something about to present yourself?
Yeah, well, so I'm a scholar at heart and also run a consultancy trying to help agencies and corporations with geopolitical strategy, dealing mostly with European security affairs.
But, yes?
Yes, perfect. So, could you also tell us a bit about your official sort of assignments?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so I try to keep work balance. Partly I do my work and partly I do my war. Unfortunately, we have to fight. So I'm advisor for Ministry of Digitalization and National Security and Defense Council, but at the same time I'm co-founder of Cyber Unit and try to keep business ongoing. In Ukraine now it's not so easy, so that's why actually I'm here to listen which actually requests do you have in your country, so how we can cooperate together between our countries, because in my opinion we should try to create long-term relationship between our countries, and we should try to create as much connection as possible on different layers, like on government level, business level, NGO level, and so on. So it's our main goal. So I will hear as much as possible here. In a couple of days I go to Ukraine, to Kyiv. I will meet all official guys and will explain them. So how do you see it from your country? What do you need? What do you want to understand? What do you need to go to the market, to Ukrainian? What do you need Ukrainian companies goes to your market and so on?
But Yegor, what was the first thing you did when you heard about the news of the invasion?
Actually, I heard it not from the news, but from my window. Yeah. I remember this day quite well. It was exactly the next day after I can get back from my vacation. So it was like we were very relaxed with my wife, and in the 5 a.m. in the morning, it was huge explosion outside. And I remember it was yesterday, to be honest, because all last year was like a one day, no vacations, no fun, and so on. So. We get back to the bomb shelter. Bomb shelter is a parking garage, and when we get to parking garage, a lot of people were there. People were scared, terrified, as well as me. We didn't know what to expect. Actually, just in news we saw some news that Russian soldiers are in 20 kilometers from my house, let's say. So it was we didn't know what to do, but we decided that we should not be scared, but we need to act. And I made a declaration in internet, in social media, for cybersecurity community in Ukraine. So, guys, if you don't have a gun, if you don't know how to fight with a gun, let's fight in cyberspace. Let them keep in their position. Let them fight against them. Let's protect our country and let's support our government. And one day, I got around 1,000 cybersecurity experts. Sorry? 1,000, sorry, yeah. 1,000 cybersecurity experts. We distributed them to different groups, and basically my work was to coordinate these different groups to provide services like any kind of support to our government institutions. Because you see, we got more X10, X100 attacks, cyber attacks. The same attacks was in psyops operations, the same on the ground kinetic attacks. So it was from the different ways, like they started to attack us. So we started a fight in cyberspace. And yeah, so it was quite helpful because we survived, we still exist, let's say. So that I'm here, so this is the best actually result that we could imagine. And now we keep fighting. The war is ongoing. We need to understand it. And a couple of days ago, back to Ukraine, and we are still fighting. Yeah.
And yesterday you met with Swedish politicians and you met with the foreign affairs and trade. And what he said, the assessment from our government, it was that they see that the infrastructure, IT infrastructure, has been very stable and actually resilient. How would you explain that? One would think that everything should break down.
So. From my opinion, one of the main reasons why we become resilient is because of the continuous ongoing training before the invasion. So training, it's actually what every country should do right now, even if you don't have a war. Because this is the next, the weakest link in every organization is a person. So we need to train everyone in our country, in our companies, in our families, and so on. So we trained more than 1,000 cybersecurity experts from object of critical infrastructure. Like it was 1 year before full-scale invasion, and this actually helps us to keep connection with them. And our government plays quite good in these first days, and then later as well.
Yeah. So the training, what does it look like? I mean, like
what we see from our experience from Cyberwar is that you should not train only like cybersecurity experts or technical guys. Yeah. It should be training for everyone, like every employee, every executive. We need to understand that responsible for cyber resilience and for cyber attacks are on the executives, on C-level guys. C-level guys have to understand what's going on, why cybersecurity is a part of any business strategy, should be a part of any business strategy. Otherwise, your competitors will put this in their strategy, and you will. So it's a competition between countries, between companies. So you need to put cybersecurity everywhere, and because it's so important part of digitalization and cyber resilience.
Mm. And you actually have like this method on seeing who is the weak link, like in a company or something. With this training, you actually can pinpoint.
Yeah, exactly. So
the one clicking on the attachment.
Your company protected as good as the weakest person in your company. So it's so obvious because hackers, we know how hackers act, how Russian hackers act. They actually find the weakest person in organization and hack this person and get into the organization. Then they destroy everything inside. They can do whatever they want. So it's not enough to protect even 99% of all your employees. Or even CEO or co-founder, if he has also access to the system, he must spend a couple of minutes every week for cybersecurity trainings, because 90% of all vulnerabilities, of all data breaches is because of the human factor. So trainings will be a big story next decade.
Did the cyber war start at the same time as the invasion?
Actually, we have a war from 2014. And while they were working in hidden mode, let's say, they officially say, no, we don't do this and this, we don't know who did it. So they were attacking us in cyberspace. And it was actually first stage. They collected information, they investigated how actually our system ongoing, what is the processes inside of the country. So sometimes they were getting, but they were just waiting, like some command from, I don't know, Russian Kremlin, FSB, and so on. But because the biggest cyber attacks, they're preparing not like 1 week or 1 day, usually it's from 3 to 6 months. So they get in and wait until they start full-scale invasion. Then they turn on everything. They opened back doors and started they did whatever they want. So it was they tried to do whatever they want. But because we started to fight with them, we didn't scare it too much. So that's why we are resilient.
Could you share any specific examples of innovation techniques or technologies that utilized by Ukraine in this cyber conflict?
Sure. Like at the beginning, I remember the first day, everybody started to share, like all businesses started to share own expertise, own technologies between each other. So I remember like one famous company came to me and say, okay, we have good technology in face recognition. Other guys came, okay, we are from AI, we are from database. And for example, we created, during the war, we created a platform for training. It also was a startup at the beginning. We saw how, so we created small simulations and we created big and big, now it's products. So actually technology, it was, if you try to fight, if you fight, it means if you, what doesn't kill us, make us stronger, right? So we got a lot of new projects and new technologies. Also, international partners helped us, like Elon Musk, like sent Starlinks and like worldwide companies. I remember a lot of requests of how we can help. But at the same time, some companies like Cloudflare, for example, they're still working in Russia. They're protecting this propaganda websites, media sites, and so on. So, but we made request together with Ministry of Digital Transformation to CEO Cloudflare, say, guys, what are you doing? Like you protect disinformation campaigns, basically. But they explained that, okay, this is our business model. It was a public answer, so that's why I can tell about it. But so yeah, the war is ongoing. We should communicate with all these companies. We should keep technology on the bright side, let's say, not go to the dark side and so on.
What would you say, what role did the public awareness and education play in just strengthening Ukraine's cybersecurity defense?
Yeah, so what we see right now, like from our experience, cyber awareness is a key moment, actually, key point, because like you can create as much technology as you can spend like hundreds of millions in hardware, software, but if your like employees, they don't understand so what's going on, so and they still click these links and so on, so you need to establish process in your company, process of ongoing learning, ongoing education, and somebody should track all these results. Somebody should be responsible and ask the person, why don't you go this quiz? Why don't you make this test and so on? Because all these results, like in this results of cyber awareness of your company, when you try to keep this cyber temperature of the company, when you try to verify the cyber temperature, you can see actually where is vulnerability in your company. But vulnerability is a person in your company, because hackers will try to find like the weakest link. They don't go like to the iron door or to the iron window. They try to find the weakest link, the new employee, some old woman, some old guy, so they will try to hack the weakest link, and that's why you need to study everyone, to teach everyone.
And in an interview this morning that was sent on Channel 4 here in Sweden, you said that you saw that there were a lot of Swedish IP addresses actually in these attacks against Ukraine.
Yeah, so actually, at the first day of invasion, we got like thousands of DDoS attacks, different attacks, cyber attacks, DDoS attacks, and so like from Russia they were prepared and they wanted like to, again, it was part of psychological operation probably, because there is no much reason of like on DDoS attacks. It's more like psychological. You can still switch off, I don't know, like airport or some central station for train and so on. And we saw a lot of DDoS attack, and now we actually established Institute of Cyber Warfare Research in Ukraine, and we invited a lot of cyber volunteers, Ukrainian and also foreign volunteers, to be a member of this institution, and we now start to investigate all this data that we got. And we see like a lot of IP addresses that attacked us, but they are not from Russia or Ukraine. They are from like dozens of countries. And I asked my guys to verify if we have IP addresses from Scandinavian countries, from Sweden. And yeah, we have a lot of IP addresses that attacked Ukraine. It means that it doesn't mean that guys from your country attacked Ukraine, but it means means that IoT devices like, I don't know, laptops, tablets, iPhones, notebooks, they could be vulnerable. So somebody could hack them and use them to attack Ukraine. So basically, if you don't pay attention to cybersecurity in your country, you in passive way you support aggressor. So that means like you need to educate your population, your citizens, explain why do we need to pay attention to cybersecurity, because you might become one of the hackers even if you don't know this.
Were there any instances where disinformation or propaganda campaigns pose significant challenges, and how did you address them?
Yeah, so propaganda and psyops operation, it always goes together with cybersecurity. So it's always hand by hand. So they're always together. I remember like when on the first weeks of invasion, I got a lot of requests that, okay, on Google Maps, we see a lot of signs, marks, like it's 100,000 new marks appeared on Google Maps. Nobody knew like what to do with these maps. I tried to have a look and I see like, okay, this mark is on the house of my mother, for example. Like it's a real story. And on the thousand different others, houses, buildings, and so on. And we don't know what to expect. Maybe they want to attack these houses. Maybe they want to get to this house with Kalashnikov. I don't know what to expect. So we spent a couple of days for like understanding what they do, so how to remove these marks and so on. But it was a part of the psyops operation. So they wanted to keep our attention on something like not very important. Then, like, yeah, we removed all these marks from this Google map, but it took us some time.
And last year, we actually invited the one who was coordinating all the drone attacks in Kiev the first 3 months. And he actually he gave us a picture of that the Russian army coming by foot or vehicles, they were not very well prepared. But on the cyberwar side, they were very well prepared now.
Now they're even better, to be honest. Yeah, so we should not like underestimate and at the same time overestimate the enemy. But at the beginning, I remember that we could track them even through their phones, because they started invasion with their mobile phones in the pocket. So we like used the Telegram bot to track. So we'd say, okay, here is some part of this Russians and so on. Now they become smarter. They also learn a lot on the war. But yeah, so it's an ongoing process. So we need to fight all the time. We need to improve our knowledges. So that's why we create National Defense Hackathon. We need to find solutions for different problems all the time. And so basically, we got requests from Military of Defense, of Ministry of Digitalization, and we like collect different, like get together smart people, technical guys, and solve this problem and give this solution to our army. And we so appreciate, guys, that your countries support us. We really feel it in our country. In Ukraine, we really feel your support. Thank you very much. But we need to do it more and more, because the war is so ongoing. Like our house is on fire right now, and we should not be relaxed.
But with all this, how do you handle the psychological impact on cyber soldiers and the general population?
Well, it's psychologically and mentally. You should understand that some people want to fight in some extreme situation, but other people, they want to hide. They don't want to fight, and so because they're in some so everybody is okay. Like we should understand that if you can fight, go fight. If you cannot fight, just wait. So this is psychologically, it's very hard to fight against all these mental problems when the war started. But the main thing, what I would suggest to do, like hopefully this war will never come to your countries, to West world, but you should be prepared. You should make different simulation. What if war will start right now? What will do like executives? What will do business? Not only from cybersecurity, but everyone. What will do media? So you should like make some kind of storm The same we will do actually in Ukraine, but we will do it for cybersecurity. We will call it Cyberstorm. We will do it in August together with our American partner, CRDF Global. We will do this. So we simulate huge hackers attacks. We sit our official government, we sit technical guys, executives, representatives of company, and we simulate the huge cyber attack. And we train actually not their skills, but also processes between them. So how they communicate, how they act, what the media, should they like write something or should not? How like should our politicians act? So it's very important to simulate all this. Even hopefully this will never come to your country, but it's good to be prepared.
Björn, I wanted to hear this ongoing cyber war. How is that affecting the European but also the Swedish security context?
Yeah, thanks. Well, I think when it comes to cyber, the war is already here. I mean, especially during now year 2 of the war, we've seen a large increase of attacks also on EU member states, and as in particular those that are perceived to be most supportive of Ukraine. We've seen attacks on Poland, the Baltic countries, Sweden, also attacks specifically against possible future members, Moldova, for example, against critical infrastructure, aviation, hospital, etc. So in that sense, the war is already here. I guess, what does it mean? Well, it means that Russia's attack is often said to be a threat to the European security order, and that's a kind of a vague concept, but essentially that's the software of international relations, our idea about how we relate to each other, that we don't invade each other, etc. But that order needs to be backed up by an architecture where we can project power or protect ourselves. And before, I would argue, this kind of the order we wanted and the architecture we had was not in balance. We had high hopes for the OSSE, for example, an international organization that we hope would protect us. It didn't really help Ukraine. Now we are in a process of kind of balancing, so we are strengthening our architecture in order to be able to, in the future, better stand up for the order we see. And I think cyber is definitely a part of this. So we've seen effort both within NATO, within the European Union, but also in individual member states. To kind of boost our capacities and build our architecture. And I think here it is really key that we build this to a large extent as possible together with Ukraine, that they are now part of our architecture. And we'll see what the implications will be, perhaps not anytime soon in NATO. We'll see if Sweden will be in NATO soon, but there's so much we can do together. I also think it's important to point out that, I mean, we often discuss what we can help you with, and of course we should do whatever we can to help, but right now Ukraine, and especially in the future, will be the most potent fighting power in Europe, both when it comes to conventional warfare and in the digital field to a large extent. So we're pretty happy you are here so we can learn from you, not the other way around.
That's great. I also wanted to add some comments that what we see right now, like a movement in cyberspace, like right now in Russia, for example, Wagner Group, they create small, private cyber armies of hackers. This actually will disbalance the world quite hard. So we need to be prepared for the new reality that this private army will be covered by government of Russia and maybe, I don't know, some other countries in future. This is a new reality that they will create this army. They will attack not only governments, but like 50% of all attacks are on private sector. They recently, like this KillNet, they attacked even hospitals in US. How you can imagine, like why would you attack hospitals? It's not a military object. Like they don't have any ethics. We shouldn't expect any ethics from these hackers. They create private army because they're preparing for the huge cyber war. So, and this cyber war will be against all of us. So we have to be united all together, and we are ready to share as much experience as we have.
Geneva Conventions doesn't apply. How do you see, Björn, that the EU, but also Sweden, of course, is preparing for this, and are we prepared?
Yeah, I mean, clearly we are preparing at lots of different levels. I mean, I was at the seminar yesterday and heard what the private industry, and as we heard, much of the responsibility in resilience will fall upon us as citizens or companies or organizations, and hopefully we see lots of preparations there. Then, of course, in official institutions, there's There's lots of kind of strategic work and policies. I brought the full list here. We have an EU cybersecurity strategy. We have a cyber component of our strategic compass. We have a Cyber Resilience Act soon, Cybersecurity Act, Cyber Solidarity Act, etc., etc. So we are great at creating policies and strategies. It will take some time before that kind of has an impact on the reality that I think you are describing. I think the legal aspect, if we talk about the European Union, it's probably more important what can be done with legal acts, the different directives from the Commission, than these often quite lofty policy strategies. But at the end of the day, I think it's the same as, for example, in defense industry, where we've really ramped up our capacity. But what we also need to learn from Ukraine is how can we do more small-scale efforts? How can we be faster? I think the way we're working now in Europe, we are essentially trying to create a lot of Henry Fords, people who can produce at scale with great products that look alike during long construction process. But we need much more MacGyvers who can create and innovate overnight and produce perhaps just a few copies of whatever you need. So, and that's a bit of a change for the European system.
Do you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely agree, support, and again, so our success depends on how many products we'll do together. Product, projects, cooperational results of our cooperation. Because we need to feel how do you think, you need to feel so what's going on there. So it means that we need to communicate all the time, like on the weekly, daily, monthly based, and so on.
What do you think? Should we have perhaps some questions from the audience? Because I'm sure that there are many questions. We have microphones. I see one there. That is, yes, could you go and get your note? We have somebody helping us there. Perfect. And just introduce yourself and...
Well, thank you for fascinating perspectives, and thank you for coming to Stockholm to deliver your thoughts on this issue. My name is Carolina Wendelpalin. I'm with the Swedish Defence Research Agency. One of my main topics is actually Russian cyber policy, so it's something I've been following. It seems to me that one of the weakest links in cybersecurity is often the use of subcontractors and outsourcing in order to cut costs. Could you comment on this, please?
Yes, so I would focus your question on supply chain, cybersecurity supply chain. It also become a big story because, like, if you use some product and if developers are sitting in Russia, so it means that FSB can come to any IT office in Russia and get access to this software. So it means that you need to verify all products, all hardware, like if they produce something, if they have team members from some countries. So cybersecurity supply chain is a very, very big topic. And so we established Institute of Cyber Warfare Research in Ukraine. You are welcome to join us, at least online. And we're always happy to see you guys in Ukraine. Even now it's not so safe, but for Ukrainians, very important to see European faces, like European people, that you come to us, you remember about us, and so on.
Any other?
Hello, thanks for very interesting thoughts. My name is Jimmy Ahlström. I work for the leading Nordic telco operator. And my question is around the telco networks. How prepared were they for the attacks, and what role have the telco operators of Ukraine played in the defense?
Probably, I will not tell you a lot of details, but I could say that you never be prepared enough. So it's because cybersecurity, it's a process, but not one time solution. So you need to. So they were prepared well enough, I would say. Unfortunately, I cannot comment more.
Hi, my name is Peter Hammarskjöld. I work for a fintech company here in Visby called PayX. I have a question. You mentioned, first of all, we know that Ukraine gets a lot of support from the West, both the government and private. And you mentioned Elon Musk and Starlink. But I was curious, do you get a lot of support from multinational IT companies in other areas too? I mean, the extreme example, which is not likely, but I just mention it, would be for Microsoft, for instance, to push updates to Russia and wreak havoc in their infrastructure. Of course, it won't happen, but I'm interested what kind of support you would get. And finally, may I add, Slava Ukraini.
Heroям Slava. Thank you. So first of all, we appreciate all kind of support from from different countries, different licenses, hardware, software, because we're now at in the middle of the fight, right? So we need everything to become stronger. But at the same time, this war is already 1.5 years. So me personally, I quite a little bit afraid that we become just some kind of, I don't know, African country or something like this, when people just give some licenses there and some products there and so on. At the same time, internal market dying, actually, IT market, cybersecurity market, because if somebody gives licenses for free to Ukraine, it means that nobody will produce some new ideas inside of Ukraine because nobody will buy it. At the same time, Ukrainian business cannot go outside now. For me to come here, I got a lot of permissions to cross the border. So it means that we need to, that's why my idea is to let's create products together, let's create solutions together. Otherwise, you will need to donate and to give money all the time. So my idea is to create the projects together, then Ukraine becomes stronger, because our Russia is waiting when you guys will be tired. Russia is waiting. Because when you will be tired, you will go to another country to support somebody else. Russia will be still our neighbor. And they will still be looking at us and want to eat us. So that's why we need to become stronger, at least on the level that we can fight good enough against Russia. So that's why I invite everyone, please come to us. Let's do business together.
I actually also have another question. Who is winning the cyber war?
Definitely Ukraine is winning.
Of course. Good to hear.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the audience?
But I have one.
Yeah.
Looking ahead, what are the key priorities and strategies for Ukraine to maintain its cyber resilience and continue to countering future threats?
So basically, as I mentioned, maybe I tell too much about the trainings, but for us, it's a key solution now. So now we make onboarding new people through trainings. We check their knowledges while they're studying, while they're working. So we need to check all this information all the time. But also the part of resilience is the stories that I mentioned recently. So, for example, we have dozens of thousands licenses from Microsoft, Google, and we appreciate for these licenses. But this is commercial companies. What if Russia buy Google, for example? What if Russia buy Microsoft? So would it be who will be resilient at this moment? Because all Western world use these licenses, right? And so we need to predict all kind of the situation. In our case, before full-scale invasion to Ukraine, Russia invaded to Kazakhstan. Maybe you remember it was a couple of months before our war. And they switch off all internet in Kazakhstan because they have only one provider. In Ukraine, we have 150 providers. That's why they could not switch off internet. They tried a lot. They tried to switch telecom operators, mobile providers and so on, but they didn't, they could not do it. So it means because the system is distributed. So it means that the part of resilience also to build distributed system, and to involve as much business as possible.
Other questions?
So I think we'll have a coffee here.
Yes.
Hello, my name is Björn Fägersten. I'm from Sea Resilience. I would like to know a little bit more about when you said about the Russian capacities, and you said they are expanding their capacities. And how do you relate that to the idea, at least, of brain drain from Russia and so on? Because I would really like to know what they're improving on.
Yeah, so at the beginning, we didn't know what to expect because it was we were on front line in cyberspace, and we were in touch with Russian hackers all the time. So we didn't know what to expect from them because there are a lot of legends about Russian hackers and so on. But after a couple of days already we saw okay, they are not brilliant. They're just people who trained it well by FSB or KGB. I know when Ukrainian hackers took some licenses for cyber weapon, let's say, from Russian hackers, and then with this license attack then these hackers. So I mean, it was like a dirty fight, And but later they become, as I mentioned, they become more and more smart, and they see. For example, we made military defense hackathon in Kiev. It was under missile attack. We made it in Metropolitan, underground Metropolitan station. It was 3 days ongoing, 24 hours per day hackathon. We invited 600 people, and we were looking for solutions for our military. And exactly in 1 month, Wagner hackathon happened. So they see everything that what we do, how we think, and they're smart enough to copy our systems and not our system but our ideas and our approach. So that's why we need to keep something in shadow, let's say. Not everything should be they should not be informed about everything. This is our approach. But currently, this private hackers group, it's a big problem. It will be a big problem because now it's not just army. It's also they study, they teach a lot of, they employ a lot of hackers, cybersecurity experts from Russia. Russia has 140 million population. They have enough technical guys, so it could be a big problem. So it should be as well as political pressure, and we should be prepared. When huge cyber attack happen, government cannot protect everyone. So you should think how you will protect your company, how you will protect your family, how you protect your city, or so on. So because they will attack, especially not just president of Ukraine, they attack small local authorities, or they attack some bank, or they attack even hospitals. So they attack whatever they want, and they're having fun on it.
One thing you said when we were talking with the politicians yesterday was that actually nothing actually broke down. Your banking system has been working every day since the invasion. You have the authorities, and the digital ID, everything is functioning, and it's been functioning.
Yeah, so actually we are lucky enough to move a lot of our services in clouds, because when they came on kinetic on the ground, when they come to some city villages and so on, they got physically your servers, and they got your computers, and they can get whatever they want. But we moved to clouds, a lot of our government services, and it helps us because all the time, all banking system works even better during the war. I don't know why, but yeah. So we have also the digital ID in our in each smartphone. So we don't use in Ukraine, we don't use any paper passports anymore. So that's why I even forgot one passport to take it with me, because you don't need it in Ukraine. So all these services, it works so good. And now in Ukraine we actually discuss, we want to, our dream is to become cashless country, so it will help us to fight against corruption, against bureaucracy, and we will become more transparent. And we need to be transparent because we want you guys understand us. We don't want to be black hole anymore for you. So we want to speak in the same language with you.
And I think that's a very good final word from this seminar. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for listening. So I'm sure that you're willing to answer other questions. Sure. But yeah, but we have another seminar in 5 minutes. So thank you so much.